This is the Release and Realization podcast, where we explore emotional freedom and practical manifestation based on the teachings of Lester Levenson and Neville Goddard to help you unlock your inner power and create the life you want. Welcome. In today's episode, David and Anna explore how Rhonda Byrne is connected to the teachings of Lester Levenson.
If you were anywhere near a bookstore or a TV or, frankly, another human being around 2006, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the words The Secret.
Oh, absolutely.
It wasn't just a book. It wasn't just a film with, that very dramatic production value. It was a cultural tidal wave.
It really was.
Yeah.
It completely changed the conversation in pop culture around success, money, happiness, everything.
Everyone was talking about it. Your aunt, your mailman, Oprah. Suddenly, manifestation and the law of attraction were like household terms.
It was the era of the vision board.
It really was.
I remember walking through airports back then, and you just couldn't escape it. That red wax seal on the cover was staring at you from every bookstore shelf.
It took these ideas that were, they were pretty esoteric.
Very. Things from the New Thought movement that had been kind of hiding in dusty libraries for a century.
And it packaged them for the mass market in a way that had just never been done before. It was this incredible promise.
A huge promise that if you could just control your thoughts, you could control your reality. I mean, that's an incredibly empowering message for people.
It's intoxicating, isn't it? The idea that the universe isn't this, cold, random place, but it's more like a catalog you can order from.
Exactly. A cosmic catalog.
Just visualize the check in the mail, feel the gratitude for it, and the universe delivers. And at the absolute center of this whole storm was Rhonda Byrne.
The architect of it all.
She didn't just write the book on success. She was the ultimate success story. She went from, by her own account, struggling, to being one of the most influential people on the planet.
Which is what makes the twist in her story so fascinating. Because by all external measures, she had won.
Right.
She had achieved everything the law of attraction promised, the wealth, the global fame, the mansions in California, everything. But then she hit a wall.
And that's where this story gets really, really interesting for us. You'd think, okay, she's cracked the code, she's set for life, she must be the happiest person on earth.
You would absolutely think that.
Yeah. But the story we're unpacking today is all about what happened after The Secret. It turns out that having everything on the outside, it didn't solve everything on the inside.
She still lacked that deep, permanent inner fulfillment.
Yeah.
And that's the real crux of our deep dive today. We're not just, reviewing a sequel.
No, this is much bigger than that.
We're tracing the evolution of Rhonda Byrne from The Secret to her later work, The Greatest Secret. And in doing that, we're really exploring a fundamental shift in, I think, human psychology and spirituality.
It's a move from manifesting things to realizing who you are.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's a shift from getting stuff to, as you said earlier, maybe getting over yourself in a way.
And we can't tell this story without bringing in this other figure, a man named Lester Levenson.
He's the key.
He seems to be the pivotal character in what we could call Byrne's second awakening.
Lester Levenson is the key that really unlocks the second half of this journey. His influence is what marks that transition from using the mind to get what you want to understanding the nature of the mind itself.
And I think we should be clear from the start. We're talking about topics that sound very spiritual: manifestation, awakening, consciousness.
Right.
But our mission today is really to look at this analytically.
Yeah.
We want to understand the mechanics of these psychological shifts, what's actually going on here.
The how and the why, not just the what.
Exactly. So let's rewind. Before she was a global phenomenon, before The Secret was even an idea, who was Rhonda Byrne?
Well, to understand the crash, you really have to understand the climb. She started her career as a television producer in Australia.
Okay.
And if you know anything about TV production, it's a high-pressure, high-stakes world. It is completely results-driven.
I can only imagine. It's all deadlines, ratings, budgets.
Constantly. It's a world where your value is literally measured by your last success. If your show tanks, you tank.
Yeah.
It is not, let's say, an environment for quiet Zen reflection.
Not at all.
So for years, she was operating completely under that logic of external achievement. You work hard, you push, you make things happen, and then you succeed. And she was very good at it.
She was successful.
But that mindset, operating purely on external validation, it has a shelf life. You can only redline an engine for so long before something blows.
And for her, that happened in the early 2000s.
It did. The records describe a really severe personal crisis. We're talking about total burnout, depressive states, and existential collapse.
Wow.
Her father died very suddenly, which is a huge trauma in anyone's life. Her relationships were falling apart. Her business was in trouble. It was just the perfect storm of everything going wrong at once.
It's that classic dark night of the soul story. But it sounds like, initially at least, this wasn't some grand spiritual search for enlightenment.
No, not at all.
This was a search for a lifeline, for survival.
That is such a crucial distinction. She wasn't, sitting on a mountaintop seeking God. She wasn't meditating in a cave. She was a producer trying to stop her life from completely imploding.
It was a forced inward turn out of pure suffering. And I think that's so relatable. Most of us don't really look under the hood of our own psychology until the engine starts smoking, right? We wait until the pain is just too much to ignore.
Absolutely. Pain is almost always the initial motivator. It's what cracks the shell of the ego, so to speak.
So in the middle of this crisis, around 2004, her daughter gives her a book.
Her daughter gives her a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles.
The classic.
And that one book just sent her down the rabbit hole. She started discovering all these other New Thought authors from the early 20th century, people like William Walker Atkinson, Napoleon Hill, Charles Haanel.
The original gangsters of self-help.
They really are. And this discovery, this whole process, this is what we can call her first awakening. This is the soil from which the secret grew.
So she's reading all these old texts and starting to see a pattern.
She saw a pattern, a common thread running through all of them, and she synthesized it into a very specific, very marketable framework.
Which was that thought, emotion, result loop?
Correct. The core idea was that your thoughts literally generate your reality. The universe is magnetic, like attracts like.
And if you can harness your thinking, visualize what you want with real clarity.
And this was the key part. Pair it with an elevated emotion, like gratitude or joy. Then you can produce a tangible result in the physical world.
It's a very mechanical view, isn't it?
Extremely. Input, positive thought, process, emotional resonance, output, a new car, a new house, whatever it is.
It's almost like you're writing programming code for reality.
That's a great way to put it. It treats the universe like a machine that just responds to user input, no questions asked.
And this is the idea that just took the world by storm. But now, looking back on it, especially through the lens of her later work, how should we categorize The Secret? Because at the time, it felt like the final answer.
It really did. But that's the critical distinction we need to make today. The Secret was fundamentally 100% manifestation-oriented.
Meaning its focus was on goals.
On goals, on outcomes, on acquiring things. Whether that thing was money, a relationship, better health. The mechanism was always about getting something. It was about manipulating conditions outside of yourself.
So it was a tool.
Exactly. It was a model for using the mind. It was all about utility. It was not about an ontological realization of consciousness.
Okay, unpack that a little. Ontological realization.
It wasn't about changing your fundamental understanding of what you are. It was about changing what you have.
Wow. That is a huge distinction. It wasn't about identity, it was about utility.
Mm-hmm.
You're just using your mind like a 3D printer to spit out the life you want.
And I want to be very clear. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. We're not here to bash manifestation.
Of course not.
For a lot of people, it's a huge psychological upgrade. It shifts them from a victim mentality, life is happening to me, to a creator mentality, I happen to life.
Which is a massive step. It's about taking responsibility.
It is. But, and this is the entire point of her journey, it has a ceiling. There's a point where it stops working.
So let's fast forward. The Secret is released in 2006. It explodes. Rhonda Byrne is now wealthy, famous, has manifested everything she could possibly want. But we jump ahead about 10 years. It's 2016. What happens?
The paradox of success happens.
The paradox of success.
If you looked at her life on paper, on a checklist, she'd tick every single box. Financial success,
yeah.
Worldwide recognition.
Check.
She'd impacted millions of lives, had the beautiful homes, the freedom, the adoration. But there was this one box that was still stubbornly unchecked.
Inner fulfillment.
Exactly.
That has to be a terrifying realization. To climb all the way to the top of the mountain you build, look around and think, I still feel the same inside.
It almost invalidates the whole climb. It's the moment where these manifestation teachings really hit their limit.
Why is that? Why does it have a limit?
Because the underlying premise of manifestation is so often, I will be happy when.
When I get the car, when I get the partner, when I get the promotion.
Exactly. It postpones your happiness to some future event. But what happens when you get the when, and the happiness either doesn't come or it comes and then it fades?
You're just left with a void.
A void that no amount of positive thinking can fill, because you've proven to yourself that the external thing wasn't the answer.
It's like eating. You can manifest a fantastic meal, but you're just going to be hungry again in a few hours.
That's a perfect analogy. Manifestation addresses the hunger of the moment. It doesn't cure the fundamental condition of needing to eat.
So it treats the symptom, I want this thing, but it ignores the root cause, which is the feeling of lack itself.
Precisely. And Byrne reached that breaking point. She realized that getting everything she wanted didn't solve the internal problem of suffering or dissatisfaction. She was still anxious. She still had fear. The money didn't make the fear go away.
So the external fixes had failed her. She needed a much deeper shift. And this is where she finally encounters the work of Lester Levenson.
This is the turning point.
So set the scene. Who was this guy and how did she find him?
Lester Levenson is this really fascinating figure in 20th century American metaphysics.
Yeah.
He was not your typical guru in robes.
No.
No, he was a physicist and an entrepreneur. Very logical, very left-brained, a New Yorker through and through.
Okay, so kind of the opposite of what you'd expect.
Very much so. And much like Byrne, his journey started with a massive crisis.
Yeah.
A health crisis. In 1952, at the age of 42, he was sent home to die after a second massive heart attack.
42. That's incredibly young.
It is. The doctors basically told him, we've done everything we can. Go home, get your affairs in order. Don't buy any green bananas.
Wow. Don't buy green bananas. That really puts it in perspective.
It does. It means you're not going to be around long enough for them to ripen.
So facing death, facing the absolute end, he went into this state of deep, radical self-inquiry.
What did he do?
He just sat in his apartment in New York and started examining his entire life. And he had this profound realization that his misery, and he believed his physical illness, was all caused by his own suppressed emotions.
His stress, basically. It was more than stress. It was his constant, desperate desire for approval and his need for control. He realized his identity was killing him.
His identity was killing him.
Yes. He saw that every time he wanted approval from someone, he was basically making himself a slave to their opinion. Every time he wanted to control a situation, he created immense internal pressure.
So he developed a method to deal with this.
He developed a method of releasing or just letting go of these feelings. He'd find a feeling in his body, fear, anger, whatever, and instead of fighting it or justifying it, he would just let it go. He did this day in and day out for 3 months straight.
And what happened?
He ended up healing himself completely. He went into what he described as a state of profound, permanent peace. And he lived for another 40 years.
That's an unbelievable turnaround. From physicist on his deathbed to mystic.
It's an incredible story. Now, by 2016, when Rhonda Byrne finds this work, Lester had already passed away, so she didn't study with him directly.
Okay, so this wasn't a case of her sitting at the master's feet in an ashram somewhere.
No. She was introduced to his teachings through a practitioner from what's called the Sedona lineage, specifically a man named Hale Dwoskin, who was one of Lester's primary students.
And this encounter, this is what sparked her second awakening.
It was everything.
So how was this awakening different from the first one? The first was about thoughts become things. What was this one about?
This time, the fundamental questions changed.
How so?
In her first phase, the phase of the secret, the central question was, how do I create what I want?
Right. How do I get the stuff?
But in the second phase, the question became, who is the one that wants to create? And then even more radically, is creation even necessary in the first place?
Whoa. Okay, that is a hard left turn. Is creation even necessary?
It is.
If you're the person who built a global empire on the idea that you create your own reality, that question sounds almost heretical. It's like Henry Ford asking, is a car even necessary?
It completely dismantles the whole game she was playing. It shifts the focus away from the content of your life, your job, your car, your bank account, to the context of your life.
Meaning,
who are you really? Are you this person who needs all these things to be happy?
Yeah.
Or are you something else entirely? It's a shift from epistemology, how I know and do things, to ontology.
Yep.
What is the fundamental nature of my existence?
So this brings us to the shift in methodology. The material we looked at says this wasn't just an intellectual change for her. It wasn't just, oh, that's a nice new idea. It was a nervous system and identity level recalibration.
Yes.
What does that mean in plain English?
It means moving from a state of doing to a state of being.
Yeah.
In The Secret, you are constantly doing something.
Right. You're visualizing, you're affirming, you're trying to manage your vibration.
You're policing your thoughts. It's actually a lot of work. You have to be the security guard of your own mind, 24/7.
It sounds exhausting. I remember friends who got really deep into it, and they became terrified of their own bad moods. They'd stub their toe and think, oh no, my vibration is low, I'm going to manifest a disaster.
Exactly. It can create this hypervigilance, this, as you said, a kind of spiritual OCD. You become afraid of your own mind.
So what's the new method?
The shift to Levenson's method, which is the foundation of The Greatest Secret, is all about releasing. It's about subtraction.
Subtraction, not addition.
Precisely. Instead of adding more things to your life, adding affirmations, adding techniques, adding vision boards, you are subtracting the emotional baggage. You're subtracting the resistance and the false ideas about who you are that are blocking your natural state of well-being.
So it's like with The Secret, you're trying to paint a wall to cover up the cracks. But with The Greatest Secret, you're tearing down the wall entirely to see the view that was always behind it.
That is a beautiful analogy. Or think of a sculptor with a block of marble. The secret is like trying to glue more clay onto the marble to make it look better.
And The Greatest Secret?
Is the sculptor chipping away all the excess stone to reveal the masterpiece that was already inside from the very beginning.
So if we look at her two big books, The Secret and The Greatest Secret, they're not really part one and part two of the same story.
No, not at all. They are hierarchical. The Greatest Secret is a transcendence of the first. It operates on a completely different level.
How would you summarize that difference?
If The Secret is about using consciousness to shape reality, then The Greatest Secret is about recognizing consciousness as the reality.
Recognizing consciousness as the reality. Let's really unpack that. There's a core statement from the new book that seems to sum this all up. It's, you are not what you think, feel, or experience. You are that which is aware of all of it.
That is the essential pointer. It's what spiritual traditions often call witness consciousness, or your true identity.
The witness.
So think of it this way. You have thoughts, right?
Constantly. It's a nonstop chatterbox in there.
Constantly. It's a nonstop chatterbox in there. And you have feelings. You have sensory experiences. You can feel the chair you're sitting in. You can hear my voice. But all of those things are constantly changing.
All the time.
Your thoughts change from second to second. Your feelings can change with the weather. You might be hungry now, but you'll be full later. Angry one moment, happy the next.
But there's something that's always there.
Yes. There is something in you that notices all of that. There's a background of silent awareness that is aware of the thoughts, aware of the anger, aware of the joy.
The observer, the part of me that's watching the movie of my life.
Exactly. And Byrne's great realization, guided by Levenson's work, is that you are not the changing weather. You are the sky in which the weather happens.
You're the awareness itself?
You are the awareness itself. And that awareness doesn't need to manifest anything to be whole and complete. It already is. It's untouched by the storm passing through it.
You know, that's a massive relief. The idea that I don't have to constantly manage and police my thoughts. I just have to step back and notice them.
That is the freedom it offers. And that leads us right into the core themes of The Greatest Secret. The first big one is what she calls the illusion of the self.
Which, I have to admit, sounds a little scary to the ego. What do you mean I'm an illusion? I feel pretty real. I have a social security number and my back hurts. That feels real.
It does feel real.
Yeah.
But she defines personality in a very specific way here. She sees the personality as just a bundle of conditioned emotional patterns.
It's a habit.
It's a collection of habits. The thing you call me, your likes and dislikes, your triggers, your personal history, the stories you tell yourself about what happened in third grade. It's just a mechanism. It's software running on the hardware of your brain.
So the ego isn't some evil monster we have to go out and kill.
No, and that is such a crucial point. In a lot of spiritual traditions, the ego is the enemy. You have to slay the ego, fight it, destroy it.
Right.
But in this framework, the ego is just seen as an automatic mechanism. It's a program that runs in the background, mostly designed for survival and social positioning.
So the problem isn't the program itself.
The root of our suffering isn't that the program exists. It's that we identify with it. We believe we are the program. We think, I am this anger, instead of, I notice that a feeling of anger is passing through my awareness.
It's the difference between being an actor in the movie, getting shot at, and falling in love, versus sitting in the theater just watching it all happen on the screen.
That's a great way to put it. When you watch a scary movie, your heart might race. You might jump. But on some level, you know you're safe in your seat.
You know it's not really happening to you.
Precisely. The source material notes how closely this aligns with the Buddhist teaching of anatta, or non-self, as well as Lester's own concept of the false self. It's all about creating a little bit of space between you, the awareness, and the constant drama of your personality.
And when you have that space, the drama doesn't hurt as much.
It stops being personal. You can watch your own neuroses play out and just say, oh, look, there goes that pattern again, without believing it's the truth of who you are.
So this leads us to the second theme, which is the core mechanism, letting go. If we're not supposed to be visualizing and affirming anymore, what are we supposed to be doing? Because letting go can sound really passive, like giving up.
It does sound that way, but it's not giving up. It's more like non-doing or allowing.
Okay.
In The Secret, if you felt a negative emotion like sadness, the instruction would be to pivot. Think of something that makes you happy, shift your vibration, put on a happy song.
Force the needle over to the positive side. Fake it till you make it.
In a way, yes. But in The Greatest Secret, the instruction is the complete opposite. It's to welcome the sadness, allow it to be there fully. Don't resist it. Don't try to change it or fix it.
That feels so counterintuitive. If your goal is to be happy, why on earth would you welcome sadness?
Because the resistance to a feeling is what actually keeps it stuck.
Yeah.
As the old saying goes, what you resist persists. When you try to push sadness away, you're actually engaging with it. You're wrestling with it, which gives it energy and keeps it alive in your system. By allowing the emotion to be there without identifying with it, without telling a story about why you're sad, the energy just naturally dissipates on its own.
So it's a simplified version of Levenson's releasing method.
It is. You dissolve the resistance, and what's left behind is your natural state, which is peace.
It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater.
Yes.
It takes constant effort and energy to keep it pushed down, but the second you stop fighting it and just let go,
It just pops up to the surface and floats away on its own.
that's a great image. And the energy it takes to hold that ball down, that's the tension and stress we feel in our lives.
That's the stress. That's the fatigue. Releasing is just taking your hands off the beach ball.
I want to get to the third theme, because I think this is where a lot of people might get confused. Transcending goals. If I'm just sitting around being this awareness, do I stop wanting things? Do I just sit on the couch and stare at the wall all day? Do I quit my job?
This is the nuance that trips a lot of people up. The teaching is not that you must stop having desires. You're a human being. Desires are going to arise. You might still want a nice house or a promotion at work.
God.
But, and this is the absolute key, that desire is no longer the reason for your practice. You aren't releasing your negative emotions so that you can get the Ferrari.
Right, because that's just putting you right back in the old trap. I'll be peaceful so I can get rich. That's just the secret with a spiritual disguise on.
Exactly. That's still a transactional relationship with the universe. I'll do this so you give me that. The goal here is the dissolution of the sense of lack itself.
Can you say more about that?
When you're operating from the mindset of The Secret, you're often coming from a place of lack. I don't have this thing, so I need to manifest it. The whole practice is predicated on a feeling of not enoughness.
Okay, I see that.
In The Greatest Secret, the goal is to realize that you are already whole and complete as you are. You realize you don't actually need anything external to complete you.
And ironically, when you don't desperately need something, it often shows up much more easily.
That is the great paradox. The source material connects this to the idea of living from the end state, but it's a very different interpretation.
How so?
It's an ontological state, a state of being, rather than a strategy to get stuff. You are happy first, regardless of the external conditions. And when you are genuinely happy and at peace first, you act differently, you speak differently, your energy is different. And yes, the world often responds to that in a different way.
But by then, you don't really care as much if it does or not.
Because you're already good. The outcome is just a bonus, not the source of your well-being.
So let's put these two figures side by side. We have Rhonda Byrne, the mass market messenger, and Lester Levenson, the deep, uncompromising mystic. Let's do a comparative analysis.
It's a really fascinating comparison. You have the original teacher and the great popularizer, and they absolutely share a foundation.
What's the common ground?
Well, both agree that the core problem is identification thinking. You are your mind, your thoughts, your emotions. Both agree the solution is some form of letting go or releasing, and both agree that consciousness is primary, that it's the fundamental stuff of the universe.
But they're playing different sports in some ways. Or maybe in different leagues.
I think different depths is the right way to look at it. One of the essential differences is, well, just that, depth. Lester Levenson was absolutely radical. His teaching was uncompromising.
What do you mean by that?
He would say things like, desire itself is the problem. He wasn't interested in helping you manage your desires better. He was pointing to a total dismantling of the entire egoic structure that creates desire in the first place. He wanted you to realize you are the infinite. Period. End of story.
Which is pretty hardcore for the average person who's just trying to pay their rent and maybe feel a little less anxious. Give up all desire is a tough sell on a Tuesday morning.
It is a very tough sell.
Yeah.
Levenson's path is a steep, direct climb. It requires immense dedication. Byrne, on the other hand, is much more integrative and permissive.
She offers a softer landing.
A much softer landing. She'll say something like, desire may arise, and that's okay, just don't identify with it. She's acknowledging that her readers are living in the modern world with jobs and families. She's meeting them where they are.
It's like the difference between a drill sergeant screaming at you to drop and give him 50 push-ups versus a supportive personal trainer saying, hey, let's just try to do one more than we did yesterday.
That's a great analogy. And that difference is reflected in their language.
Yeah.
Lester was precise, raw, philosophical. He used words like imperturbability and equanimity.
Not exactly pop culture friendly terms.
Not at all. Byrne is narrative-driven. She's a storyteller. She uses emotional, what you might call gateway language. She uses the language of feelings to guide you to a place that is beyond feelings. It's much more accessible.
And that, of course, determines their target audience.
Completely. Less work, in its original form, is for the serious seeker. It's for the person who has tried everything else and is ready to just let it all go.
If they're at the end of their rope.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Byrne, however, is speaking to that massive, broad audience that she already captured with The Secret. She's essentially trying to shepherd them from one level of understanding to another. She's taking the people who came for the money and trying to show them the path to real freedom.
That's a great way to put it. She's the bridge. She's basically saying, hey, remember when I taught you how to get the car? That was cool, but come over here. I want to show you something so much better.
She is the bridge.
Yeah.
And the last difference is in the state shift. Levenson's methods were often optimized for sudden, decisive, Satori-like realizations. Boom! You see the truth in a flash.
While Byrne's approach in The Greatest Secret is...
It's a much more gradual, safe transition. It's a gentle recalibration over time. She's holding the reader's hand every step of the way.
So if we look at The Greatest Secret, it's not necessarily the final destination of Levenson's teaching. It's not the deepest end of the pool.
No. The source material frames it perfectly, I think. The Greatest Secret is not the pinnacle of Levenson's teaching, but it is an absolutely essential entry point for those who are stuck at the level of The Secret.
It's a rescue mission.
It's a rescue mission for the successful but unhappy.
I love that. A rescue mission for the successful but unhappy. Because that was her. She was the original patient zero for this specific modern malady.
And she found the cure for herself, or rather, realized her true nature, which was never sick, and then she packaged that realization for the same audience she had first led down the path of manifestation. She used her marketing genius not just to sell a product, but to sell a state of being.
So let's bring this all back to the listener. Why does this matter? We've got people listening who might be grinding at work, trying to manifest a promotion, or maybe they're just feeling that low-level humming anxiety of modern life. What is the takeaway? Why should they care about Rhonda Byrne's spiritual pivot?
I think the takeaway is understanding the difference between fixing the furniture in your house and realizing you are the house.
Okay, I like that. Explain that. That feels like a good place to land.
Most of our lives, especially in the Western world, are spent rearranging the furniture.
Yeah.
You think, if I could just move this sofa over here, get a new job, or if I paint this wall blue, lose 10 pounds, then the room will finally be perfect and I'll be at peace.
We spend decades moving the furniture around, hoping one day the arrangement will be just right.
Hoping the feng shui will finally click and the anxiety will stop for good.
But the furniture always gets messy again. The dog chews the sofa, the paint starts to chip, the style goes out of fashion.
Always. Life happens. Entropy happens.
Mm-hmm.
Now, The Secret gave people better, more powerful tools to move the furniture. It said, hey, you can move that sofa with your mind. You can visualize an even better sofa.
Which is an upgrade.
It's an upgrade.
Yeah.
But The Greatest Secret says, stop looking at the furniture for a second. Look at the space that's holding all of it. You're not the furniture. You are the house. You are the space.
Yeah, the space itself is already at peace, regardless of how the furniture is arranged.
The space isn't damaged when the sofa breaks. The space doesn't get cluttered when the room is a mess. It's the silent, aware context for all of the content.
That is actually really profound. It takes all the pressure off. It means my life doesn't have to be perfect for me to be okay.
It does. It invites you to stop fighting with your life and just start witnessing it. And in that simple act of witnessing, you find the peace that you were so desperately trying to manifest the whole time. You find out you were never actually broken in the first place.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Rhonda Byrne's evolution, I guess I want to leave everyone with a final thought to consider. We spend so much of our time building our identity, our careers, our possessions, our reputation. We treat these things like they are us. We put them on our LinkedIn profiles, on our dating apps. We wear them like a suit of armor.
But if you were to strip all of that away, if the job was gone tomorrow, the bank account was empty, all the titles and accolades were erased, who would be the you that's left behind? Is that version of you enough?
Because according to the Second Awakening, that version of you isn't just enough, it's everything. It's the infinite potential from which all that other stuff springs in the first place.
That's the whole journey.
It is a lot to chew on, from the law of attraction to, really, the law of non-attachment. It has been quite a journey.
It's the journey from becoming something to realizing you already are everything.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, please consider subscribing to the channel. For more in-depth and advanced content, you're welcome to join us on Patreon. We'll be back next week with the continuation of this topic.